Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's Journal Entry, Journal Voucher training webinar. My name is Jason Bayshore. I'm the General Accounting Manager. Joining me today are the accountants in the General Ledger area. They are the experts and will be assisting as we walk through Journal Entry, Journal Voucher training and assisting with any questions as needed. Today's topics will include an overview of what a journal entry and a journal voucher are, and also when it's appropriate to use each type of entry. It will also show how to create a JE, JV, along with a quick presentation at the end. Okay, so let's get started. PeopleSoft JEs are used to process corrections or adjustments to the GL that do not involve AP vouchers or expense vouchers. These can include anything from 86, 81 transfers to deposit adjustments to inter-institutional transfers between two USC departments. They are also used to correct single payment AP vouchers, but cannot be used for any regular AP vouchers that are associated with a specific supplier. Let's begin with how to create a journal entry. As you can see in the navigation path below, it is main menu, general ledger, journals, journal entry, and then create update. If you will be submitting JEs frequently, you may want to save this page as a favorite in the top left-hand corner of your screen. To create a JE, begin by clicking the Add button on the New Value tab. When you add a new value, remember to let the system assign the journal ID. This will bring you to the header page. The only thing required to be entered on this page is a long description and an attachment. Be sure the attachment reflects the purpose of the JE. Please do not adjust any other fields. If you have questions or feel something should be changed on the header tab, please contact General Accounting before doing so. While on the header page, please take a minute to ensure that the adjusting entry field says non-adjusting entry and the save journal and complete status box is checked if you would like to save and return to complete your JE later. This will be discussed in more detail in a later slide. If you can't access the box, please contact PeopleSoft User Security. A little more about the attachment to your JE. Please attach supporting documentation to the header tab so our office can approve the entry to post. If there's no attachments, the journal entry will have to be denied, giving you an opportunity to add an attachment. But be aware, this will cause you to have to go back through all the approval steps. To attach the document, simply click on the attachment link. Now we're going to talk about the different types of supporting documentation for your journal entry. Appropriate documentation for the JE could include anything from a letter to a memo to emails to a spreadsheet. Backup and JE need to correlate. Someone that doesn't have any background in the topic should be able to pull your entry up and review it based on the attachment. When the entry is reviewed, everything should be calculated, chart fields should be easily identifiable, and the supporting attachment must tie to the JE.
Just turn this off. Ready? There's some sound issues, so if I could talk really loud.
Now that the JE is ready and you have added your attachment, we will go to the Lines tab. This is where you will enter your accounts, dollar amounts, and chart fill string. If you ever need to look up or confirm a chart fill string, please refer to the conversion table on the main menu under the Chart of Accounts link. This can help you avoid creating rogue chart fields that will error out as you key your entry. Use the personalize link to rearrange the order of the chart fields to your personal preferences. Also, make use of the journal line description and the reference fields. Please be aware that PC business unit, project, and activity are only used for projects and grants. When creating a JE, at least two lines need to be added, a positive line and a negative line. Once you've keyed your first line, you have the option to use the template list link to specify what you want to copy down when you add additional lines. You can add as many lines as you needed. Please be aware that if you do not adjust the template link, PeopleSoft will automatically copy down Chalktail strings from the line above. The default setting for this option is to copy down the entire Chalktail string except for the account code. You can also set the template to copy down your reference, JE description, etc. The template is only copied for the JE you are currently working on. This side shows you the positive and negative effects based on the account codes used. For example, liability and revenue accounts are decreased with a positive number and increased with a negative number, while asset and expense is increased with a positive number and are decreased with a negative number. Analysis types are required for all Chalktail strings using a project number. They are used for creating bills and other processes. The analysis type you use is based on the account code used. For example, GLE is used for account codes beginning with a 5 or 6, and GLR are used for account codes beginning with a 4. For a general rule, use this guide anytime you have a project value. As you may recall, you selected the Save as Complete status box on the header page at the beginning of entering your journal entry. This is recommended because it will save your JE if you are timed out for any reason. Now that you are done entering your information, simply click the Save button prior to processing your JE. When you click the Save button, you can be sure your total debits and credits equal. Now is a good time to take a break for any questions. If you have any questions or needing clarification or anything we have gone over at this point, please enter your questions in the chat box. Right. Now it's time to actually process your JE. First, select Edit Journal from the Process drop-down box and click the Process button. This is simply verifying all of your accounting and Chalktail information is valid and there are no errors. Prior to going to the Errors tab, make sure all of the JE lines are selected for viewing. This will help if you do actually have errors, so it pulls up your true errors. If you have any question about errors you may not be able to fix, please reach out to us in the General Accounting mailbox. If your JE is valid, you will see two Bs in the Journal Status and Budget Status fields located in the bottom right corner. After editing your journal, be sure your total debits equal your total credits. You may find that your total debits and credits have inflated because of the due to, due from, 10-300 adjusting lines. This is normal. Your journal entry ID number is now assigned at this point. After validating your entry, please go to the Approval tab where you can click the Submit button. Departmental review and approval is required before the Controller's Office can approve and post your entry. If you notice you have skipped any approvers, please contact the General Accounting mailbox. The JE can be altered up until it is posted by the Controller's Office. It can be changed after it is departmentally approved, but be aware, if you do change it, you will have to go through all the other edits and approval processes again. After submitting your journal entry, you can search for it using the navigation, Main Menu, General Ledger, Journals, Journal Entry, Complete Update. Click Find an existing value to bring up the search criteria, and then search by name, date, or JE. You can use a shortcut on the Journal ID field by selecting Contains from the drop-down box and then just entering the last 5 digits of your JE. you will need to select the blank option at the top of the list for journal header status. Be sure to include a user ID in the enter by field. When you click on the search button, a list appears providing the status, date, and description for each journal entry returned. If an item remains in the in-process status for an extended period of time, it may be locked up. If this happens, please contact Journal Voucher. To copy a journal entry, simply select the Copy Journal option from the Process drop-down box, and then click Process. A pop-up box should appear with your copy options. Leave the journal ID as next, and be sure to select the Recalculate Budget Date option. You may wish to select the Reverse Signs box if you are attempting to reverse your entry. Leave all other information on this page as it is. Now we'll talk a little bit how to delete the journal entry. First, go to the Header tab and make sure you delete all of your attachments from the JE. Then click Save while you are still on the Header tab. Your attachment link should now show 0. Next, go to the JEs that contain 10,300 lines will need to be deleted by the controller's office. So send us an email at the general accounting mailbox if you get errors trying to delete based on 10,300. Next, go to the Lines tab and select the Delete Journal from the Process drop-down box. Then click the Process button. Be sure this is the JE that you want to delete, because once you delete it, it is gone. For most users, you cannot delete journal entries any longer. If you run into an issue, please feel free to contact us. All right, now we're going to log into PeopleSoft and do a quick demonstration on some of the stuff we just discussed. All right, as we discussed earlier, we'll just go ahead and try to create a journal entry to start with. So if you follow on the search menu, if you go to Main Menu and then click General Ledger, Journals, Journal Entry, and Create Update. This will take you to the Journal Entry Options page where you can find an existing value, do a keyword search, or add a new value. For this presentation, we're going to add a new value. So we want to leave the date and the journal ID and the business unit as they are and click the Add button. This will take you to the header page of a brand new journal entry. So be sure your description is very descriptive of what you're doing. For this one, we're just going to do test, but when you actually put yours in, put as much as you want because it's over 250 characters, so make sure it's very detailed. The only other option you have to take care of on this page is the attachment. So be sure your attachment ties specifically to your JE that you're accomplishing. For this one, we're just going to, for this sample, we're just correcting the deposits. So we'll attach the attachment and then click OK. And once you do that, you're officially done with the header page. So don't change any of the other information unless you've gotten prior approval from the controller's office. Next, if you go to the Aligns page, this will allow you to enter your actual chart fill values and your amounts. So for this one, we're just going to do a quick. Enter your department. And if you need help finding what these values are, I'll show you in a few seconds of how to go to the chart of accounts. Once you get your first line in, you can select to add a line And once you hit the plus, it's going to copy everything down from your prior line and say, for this one, we're just going to change the account code. So, and you can add multiple lines. If you wanted to add 10 at a time, you could change this to 10 and hit plus. And if you add more lines than you needed, the minus sign works the same way. It will take away as many lines as you have in the lines box. So once you get your 2 lines, you make sure your debits and your credits equal. The next thing we need to do is to edit our journal entry. When you edit it, it will check your chart fill strings, it checks your debits and credits, just to make sure everything is valid for you. Also, this entry doesn't use a project, but if you were to use a project, it would check the project to be sure it is valid and it's not over budget and it's not an expired project. Once you have all your chart fills entered, simply select, be sure Edit Journal is highlighted in the process box and click the process button. This may take a few seconds because it's editing your entire journal entry. And if you notice, before we started, the journal status and the budget status were in. And once it finishes spinning and editing your JE, it should change those to D and V for valid if everything is correct. And also at this point, it assigns your JE number, which is simply the next number in a line. And now, as you can see, the journal status and the budget status are both V. If there are errors, if you don't get 2 Vs, you can email the controller's office general accounting area and we will assist with your errors. So now once your JE is valid, you're ready to submit your JE for approval. And this is done by clicking on the approval tab and clicking the submit button.
So we're in a UAT environment and they just did an upgrade on that this morning. So that is probably why we're getting that.
But usually what you would see is down here in the approval section, you would see your approver and they would be routed an email saying that your JE is ready for approval. And once they approve it, it would come to us for approval. Be aware, if your approver denies your JE, you can still go back and change it and edit it. You can edit it up until it's officially posted by the controller's office. So now,
Any questions?
now one more thing.
Okay.
Well, any questions on that process?
Nope. Okay.
So now if you had created this JE in error and wanted to delete it, you can simply go to the delete journal option and click the process button.
And that's because it hasn't been submitted for approval, correct?
Right. Once it's officially posted, well, even if it was submitted for approval, you could still delete it.
Okay.
You can delete it up until it's officially posted by the controller's office. And at that point, you actually have to submit another journal entry to reverse it. And once you hit yes, just be sure you want to delete it when you hit yes, because once it's deleted, well, normally in production, once you hit delete, it's officially deleted. You can't go back and pull it.
And you can see it's deleted here. The lines are gone.
Right. And there's no way to get it back once you delete it. So just be 100% sure you want to delete it before doing so. Okay, so any further questions on anything we discussed on the journal entry process? From creation to deletion to anything?
All right, so let's move back to the PowerPoint presentation. Give me just a second. All right, so now we are going to talk about Journal Voucher eForms. A Journal Voucher is something that you would do to adjust a posted and paid AP voucher. Journal vouchers are zero, they have zero effect on the voucher. So basically you're just moving it from one area to another. And adjustments may include things like departments, funds, accounts, projects, things like that. and they're always linked to the original voucher. Please note, though, that single pay vouchers for things like travel, student travel, you would have to do a journal entry. You are not able to do a Journal Voucher eForm for that. So let's talk about creating a Journal Voucher eForm. The navigation is main menu, USC Finance eForms, and then Journal Voucher eForms. And when you get to that page, it gives you 4 options. It allows you to add, to update, approve, and view a journal voucher. So when you're starting and creating one, you're going to, of course, click on the Add Voucher tab, and then you're going to put in the original voucher that you're trying to make the correction on in that voucher ID field. Once you do that and hit search, if you for some reason didn't put the full voucher number in there, it'll bring you an array like showing on your screen that you can select from. But if you put in that full voucher number, it'll take you right to that journal voucher that you're trying to make an adjustment on. And you'll get a full distribution screen like this. So let's actually walk through the different parts of the journal voucher form. We'll start with the transaction information. That's basically your header information. It's going to show you your supplier ID number and the name of your supplier, your original voucher ID, which is your from voucher ID, and then it's creating your invoice number for you, which is always the original voucher number with a JV behind it. And if you had made more than one correction on the same voucher, it would be JV 1, 2, 3, whatever. It's going to tell you who's requesting it, so you can see that it is me. And then it's going to give you an effective date, and the effective date always has to be in an open accounting period. So that's typically the day that you actually try to do it in the month that you're doing it in. The current distribution is going to show you all the lines on that original voucher, and you're going to have the option to select whatever lines you need to make changes on. So if you had 5 or 6 lines in the voucher originally and you only wanted to make a change to one, you would only select that line. But if you were making a change to all of them, then you would go through and select multiple lines to make those adjustments on. Once you make that selection, it's going to give you your new distribution line. So in this particular example, in that previous slide, there was only one line. So we made that selection of that line. We changed that from a no to a yes, and it copied down that line. And if you notice in the screenshot, that very first line, that chart field information you cannot change, because remember, that's the original accounting that had happened. But the dollar amount is open to make changes to, because you may not be moving the full amount. You may want to move a partial amount, so maybe $500 of that to perhaps another department. So then you can do one of two things. You can copy that line down, which is what the screenshot shows, and it's going to copy everything exactly and reverse the sign for you. But it's going to open up that chart field information because it's allowing you to make the change to the dollar amount, and it's allowing you to make the change to the chart field information. So once you've done that, the system is going to require that you have a justification. So that's basically, why are you making this move? Why have you decided to move it from one department to another or change the accounting code? Like, why are you deciding to move whatever you originally put through AP? That's a required field. And then, of course, it's going to require you to add an attachment. It's giving you a list of the different types of attachments that it'll accept. An attachment is always required. So for us, we are probably going to want a screenshot of that original voucher and the original invoice and why you are making that change. Think of it like a journal entry, and those same types of requirements that they require for journal entries. We would want to, if it ever got audited, to have a good justification as to why you decided to make the change. It gives you an option for an additional comment. This will not actually move over into the voucher when the voucher is created, but it will be available to your approvers. So if there's something that you want your approvers to see, you want to go ahead and put it in that comment section. So when your approvers pull up that information, they can see, I don't know, whatever type of additional information you need them to know about as to why you made that change. And then when you're done and you're ready to either save it or submit it, save it means that you would come back and make an adjustment. So maybe you have a really long correction to make and you get stopped and have to go to a meeting and you're not done with it. You can always save it and then come back and update it. Or you can just submit it. So once you submit it, it's going to give you, if your chart field is wrong, it's going to tell you. If you forgot a required thing, it'll stop you and tell you that. In this warning example, it's telling you that your distribution, it does not net to zero, because remember, all of these have to net to zero. So if you're moving $500, then it needs to be a positive and a negative of that $500. And of course, like I just said, you have two choices when you're creating it. You can either save or you can submit. Save allows you to go back and update that journal voucher, and submit then routes it on to the workflow. So if we had decided to just save it because we had to go to a meeting or whatever, or maybe it was at the end of the day and we just had a couple questions before we finished it, and we just hit the save button and we've come back the next day, we want to make an adjustment to it, we would make our choice on those 4 choices where you have add, update, approve, or view. We would select update. It would bring up the screen that you see here, and you could put in that original voucher ID number and it would bring it up for you. Or if you have your user ID, like down here you see mine, and I hit search, anything that I had put out there, it would bring up that I still have available to make a change to it. So as you can see, we hit the search button and this is telling me that I have 3 different JVs that are out there that I can make a change to. So I would then select one of them and make whatever adjustments I needed to. And then once I do that, I can, if it had been in a pending status, that meant that it had not been fully approved and I can resubmit it. It'll go back through that workflow. And if it had just been in a save status, that means it had never been submitted yet, and I could now just submit it. Of course, on either option, when I go in and make that update, if I felt that I had done it in error, I can always withdraw it. All right, from an approver perspective, once a journal voucher has been submitted by you or whoever, and it gets in the workflow, then those approvers will receive an email, kind of like they do for journal entries and payment requests and different things out there. They'll get an email. They can always click on that email link and approve, or they can go in the system and use the navigation that you see on the screen, which is main menu, USC Finance eForms, Journal Voucher eForms, and then click on that Approve Voucher tab. And then if they just hit search, it'll bring up anything that's available for them to approve. So as you can see, we hit search, and in this particular case, there would be 2 vouchers that are out there for them to approve. So they would click on one and then review that document and then have the option to approve it, put it on hold, meaning maybe they have some questions about it. They could recycle it, which would that they could return it to the creator, and then the creator could make changes, or they could deny it. And then when they denied it, it basically would kill that journal voucher. And of course, you always have the ability to view a journal voucher. You would use the same navigation that we've talked about, but you would click on that 4th option, which is View Journal Voucher tab. You could click search, or it'd be easier for you to know which voucher you're looking for and put in that voucher number and then pull it up. This literally only gives you a view of that. You can't make any changes on this particular screen. So as you can see, we hit our search button and it's giving you all different options to pull up to be able to view. And when you do view it, it'll bring you up that whole distribution screen. It'll show you who the supplier is, who actually requested the journal voucher. It'll bring the original distribution. It'll show you your the new distribution that you're asking for, all your attachments, and your justification. On Journal Voucher eForms, of course, just like everything else, status is very important. So this screen is kind of going through that for you. Save just means that you have gone out there and created something, but you haven't submitted it. Withdrawal means that the creator of the Journal Voucher has canceled it. Pending is that you have submitted it and you're waiting for approval. And on a pending, you can go back out and make a change. But then when you resubmit it, it will go back through the workflow. Recycle means that an approver has returned it to the creator. So, and they're asking you to make a change on it. Denied, of course, means what it says, that basically you cannot resubmit that voucher. On hold is where an approver has probably got questions, and either the creator or the approver can make a change on that. And then if you see it executed, that means it's gone through all of the workflow. All right, so do we have any questions on this? And while you think about that, I'm going to go out and show you an example of that. All right, so we are back into our UAT environment, and we're going to go through main menu, and we're going to go down to USC Finance eForms, Journal Voucher eForm. Then, like we talked earlier, it's going to give you those 4 options. And in this example, we are going to start with our add. We're going to put in our original voucher number. And when we do that and hit our search button, you're going to see it pops it up for just a second. And if you'll just leave that alone, it'll actually bring you to that distribution details page. On this, you can see your supplier number, who your supplier is, that original voucher number, the fact that it's giving you an invoice number for that, who's creating it, and then that effective date. Typically, you're not going to change that effective date. It's going to default to today's date, which would be the accounting period that's open. It is going to give you those original lines on that voucher. So on this particular one, we just have 1 line. And in our example, we are going to make a partial move to another department. So I'm going to select that line. And when I do, you're going to see that it brought that line down here for me. And because I'm going to move $500 to another department, it's showing me that full dollar amount here. But I'm going to make a change to that in just a minute. And so in order for me to move it to another department, I'm going to either need to add another line or copy this down. I choose to copy it down because if you look, when I copy it down, it already puts all that chart field information in there for me. So now, like I said, I was going to change it to $500. So I'm going to take $500 out of here, and I am going to move $500 to another department. And my department, that's the only change I'm going to make on this. Right? I am good to go. So I have only moved $500 of that original amount to another department. I'm going to move on to my justification. And this is the reason why I'm making that move. So because we are just doing this in a testing environment, I'm just going to put test. And then I'm going to have to add my attachment, just like you do in any other module. I'm going to hit my upload, click my device. I'm going to put in my journal voucher attachment and upload that. And you're going to see that that upload is complete. I'm going to click done. You can see that it's added here. And remember, I told you it gives you another little area for some additional comments. This may be something that you want your approver to be aware of. So you can add as needed here, right? So now I am done. I've kind of done everything that I needed to do to this journal voucher. I have 2 options. Now I can save it. That would allow me to come back and make any updates to it, or I could go ahead and submit it and put it through the workflow. So in this example, we're just going to hit save so that we can look at it again in our update environment. So I'm going to hit save, and it's telling me that you have successfully saved your eForm. So now I'm going to go back and pull that one back up. So I'm going to, instead of going add, because we already have it, I'm going to pull it into my update. It gives me all kinds of options to be able to pull it up here. I could hit search because it has me as the originator. I could put in that from voucher, put in that voucher number again. So in this example, we're going to have put in our voucher, and then we talk to our business manager, and our business manager says, hey, instead of you moving $500 to the other department, I really need you to move $250 to that department and $250 to another one before you complete this. So I'm going to hit my little search button. I'm going to find my the one that I just put in, and so it's going to be this one. And I know because it's the only one that I saved. These other two are in pending, so that means they've actually been submitted. So I'm going to click on this one. It's going to pull it up, so it looks just like we had seen before. It's showing me my supplier ID number, who the supplier is, that original voucher ID, the new invoice number, the original distribution, and then if you remember, we had just done one line, right? We were just making a change of $500, but now we need to add one more line because she wants our distribution or our move to another department to actually be $250 to this one and $250 to another. So I'm going to copy that down again. And then on this, I'm going to change this to $250. And then I'm going to still leave it at that department. And then I'm going to go down here to this one and also change that to $250. And on this particular one, I am going to change the department code because that's what they've asked me to do. Right? And still have my justification. If I needed to add anything else, I could add an additional attachment. My attachment's good. As you can see, it already shows that I put a comment in there, so I don't really need to add anything else. So now I can withdraw this, meaning that I did it in error. I could save it because I still wasn't ready to submit it. Or in this case, I'm going to actually submit. So I'm going to submit that. So as we talked about earlier, they just upgraded this environment. So we are getting this error, but normally it would just tell you that it was submitted and ready to move on. So now we're going to go back. So in this environment right now, I'm just going to hit my save because it's not letting me submit. So I'm going to go back to my journal voucher. And if you were an approver and we had just submitted that to you, your approver would have received an email with a link in it that they could click on, or if they choose not to use their email, they could always go into the same navigation to approve journal vouchers. And then anything that they would have in their queue, if they hit search, it would show it available to them. So I just had one and it automatically popped up for me. So on this, an approver can go in, look at the original distribution, look at what you put in for the new distribution, see whatever your explanation is, open up your attachment, and then they have the ability to approve, hold, recycle, or deny. And remember, all of those definitions to those are on the PowerPoint slide as we go through. So as long as they opened up their attachment, everything looked good, they could approve at this point. I'm not going to hit that approval button because it looks like in the UAT environment, it's given us some issues with submitting. And then finally, anyone can go in and basically view a journal voucher. So you could put in that from voucher number if you wanted to, or you could hit your search. It would give you all kinds of stuff that's out there. I did my search wide open, so it's probably going to take a little bit. You could put whoever requested it, so I could put my name on there. But basically, whenever you go into a search environment, it's not going to let you make any changes at all. It won't allow you to submit or do anything. It'll just show you that distribution screen all the way through. And if you needed to on the view, you could hit next, and it would show you the approval routing. If you keep going down, it's going to tell you who approved it and when they approved it, just like pretty much everything else that we do. All right, any questions on that as I move back to the PowerPoint presentation? Great. So this is showing you where some resources are. This is the PeopleSoft resource page. If you go onto that page and click under General Accounting, it's going to give you all kinds of things about journal entries and journal vouchers and a whole bunch of other information. This is our contact information. So if you have questions for the General Accounting Department, please email them at the email address shown. And if you have questions about journal vouchers, please email them on that journal voucher mailbox that you see listed below. Alrighty, guys, do we have any questions? No? Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We hope you have a great rest of your day.